machine learning to take social and streaming data and turn it into charts to understand what was popular.
So Hunted came out of this idea in 2009-ish around, hey, maybe we could sit on social networks and come up with a new chart that was based on
Streaming
what people
data
were
and turn it
talking
into
about
charts to understand what was
liked it or
popular.
disliked it. So Hunted came out of this idea in 2009-ish around, hey, during that period from 2009 until we were acquired in 2012 by Twitter, and then I worked in basically the same job at Twitter, doing in the machine learning group there, in the product team at Twitter, working on instead of looking at all types of social media data, looking particularly at tweets and trying to measure what artist engagement was on Twitter for them. The common thread all the time was, how do you measure effectiveness of a signal? And the signal we were measuring was language and what people were saying about things. And we did that because we had no idea no one at that point in machine learning had worked out how to identify features in audio. So we couldn't do things as simple as, give me all the songs, here's 1 million songs, find all the songs that have a female vocalist and bagpipes in them. We had no idea how to do that. The way we would do that is we would look for people talking about those songs and look for them mentioning bagpipes and female vocalists. That's how you would do it. But because obviously a lot of music no one talks about, there's real limitations on it. So in about 2015, 14, there was a whole lot of breakthroughs in machine learning around this new class of machine learning called deep learning, or AI. And they were first it started doing vision work, and then it made its way into audio. And then around 2016, Google did WaveNet, was for the first time, they come up with a way of identifying features in raw audio. They're doing it in speech, and it was a new way of doing text-to-speech for their engine. But I could see that they were going to be able to do this for all types of audio, music and things like that. So I started working in that area, and Popgun was formed in 2017. Our first problem we worked on was specifically to try and do a better search. Could we actually do that problem? And it was a very trivial, like 6 weeks later, we had a working version of that. And we realized this was going to be the least interesting thing that was going to happen now. That we could, because the way that they actually solved it was you ended up learning how to make it, taught you how to find it. And so we saw that they were going to use this to create music in a completely new way, and that AI was going to start making raw audio. You're going to start to make music in a way that it hadn't been done before. So Popgun was started to, our first mission was, could we create songs? Could we create music using AI?
And it's amazing to think how quickly it's come, because I remember in those early days when we were writing about companies like JukeDeck in the UK, a lot of the first question anyone got asked was like, can AI really make music? And this was the kind of the question. And it seems like very quickly it became that it could, and it started being more about, can it make good music? What kind of music can it make? What can it do? Like that initial barrier of can an AI make music is not even a question for a long time now, is it?
Yeah, and computers could make music. One of the first things people did with computers is make music. It's been able to make music for a long time, but it was always algorithmic music or heuristic based, as in you would program it to randomly generate a bunch of music, a bunch of notes, and it would sound like music to us. What it couldn't do before, which it was able to do now, it was from a lot of, you could show it a bunch of music and it would learn, without giving any rules of what the rules of music were, it would learn those. And, music turns out to be a really compact thing for it to learn. In the first version in 2017, we worked only on piano, and we didn't learn on raw audio, we learned on MIDI. And MIDI is a representation of the composition of a song, and it's a very compact format to learn. It's much easier to learn than images or audio. And so we were able, it took us about a year, because obviously there's 10 people who are all kind of math and comp sci gigs. But for working on purely can we learn to play the piano, it took us about a year to get to a point where we thought, this is good enough that most people would think this was a professional piano player and be able to play. You couldn't really control it, you couldn't really interact with it, but it was generating music that sounded pretty authentic in like an early days Turing test of, if we put this behind a curtain, would it be, would people believe this was an AI or a human, and that kind of past that. And then in 2018, we then worked on bass and drums, the same idea. And then we started doing instruments and vocals. So I feel like it's pretty easy to do composition stuff, and people were able to do that pretty quickly. But a whole lot of more breakthroughs around audio processing meant for the first time we were able to do sound design of instruments and be able to do singing and actually audio work too. So, I think it's obvious you can make music with it. It's still an open question whether you can make good music with it, and that's like that's probably the philosophical center of the whole space, where that meaning comes from, what music is. But
it always makes me smile, this stuff, because when you see this guy, can an AI play piano better than a human? I think, well, when you've heard me play piano, it doesn't take much of an AI to play it. And even in games, when you see games companies saying, oh yeah, there's an AI that can play this computer game better than humans, and I think hasn't seen me playing FIFA on like expert level. Like there's a whole gradation of human ability, isn't there? Like the best virtuosos here down to sort of me at the other end.
Yes, but they don't, you know, the difference between playing FIFA with a bot playing FIFA and a bot playing music is there's a scoreboard in FIFA and there's a clear outcome and a win and lose. In music, there's not, and in art, there's not. So, and no one's really developed the technique for identifying, like right now, our piano AI could generate 32 bars of piano music in a huge range of different styles, but it has no idea which of those are the best. There's no measure, there's no function, there's nothing anyone has ever come up with yet to determine what is good and, you know, what has meaning, and we're the people who give music its meaning. It's not something that anyone's really modeling at this point, whatever that means.
Which is interesting. The idea of AI can create music brilliantly, but it just, I'm not going to say cloth-eared, but it doesn't have that sense of, it needs a human to tell it, I suppose, what's good and what's not.
Yeah, that's right.
Because humans agree.
That's right. That's ultimately because music has no meaning that we give it its meaning. We know that because we can play a song to 10 different people and we all have different reactions. So clearly the music isn't it. It's us who give it that. And so that's why I suppose when everybody thought the work we were doing, I remember when we went to the US the first time in 2017 and said, we're doing AI and we're going to do music stuff, musicians were recoiled, being this is horrific and it's pretty. But it kind of became clear that when you think about it for any length of time that and we've learned over the last 3 years, it's not going to replace musicians. It's going to let people feel like a musician. It's going to create more musicians. It's something that people can use, like a drum machine. Let us control. Have a drummer at our fingertips when we need to. This is like an incredibly sophisticated drummer, bass player, piano player that can all singer that are now at your fingertips, but they don't know what to do and they don't know what music you like. You need to interact with it and control it too. You're the one who gives it its beauty and its meaning and things like that. So the talent's still there, right? People love music because they connect with the artist and what they're trying to say, and that's still there. And this is just technology. It's just another instrument that people are going to learn to play.
It's kind of funny, isn't it? As in writing about this area and talking to people who have been around a lot longer than me, you hear that every single time an instrument came out like that, like the drum machine and the synthesizer, both had